Hey guys, welcome back on the channel. So 6 days ago, I did this first video on PancakeSwap's pools that were being highly incentivized on the Solana blockchain. Shortly after uploading the video, I opened a position which was Fartcoin paired with Solana, and I've been yield farming on that position for the past week. I started with a little over $100, $110. That was roughly the initial deposit, and then later on I opened up another position, and that was with the Pengu token. So overall, during a week, those two positions put together earned me in cake $20 worth of cake. Actually a little bit more than that, because if we come here to my positions, I still have some, I believe on Fartcoin, which, yeah, some pending yield. So around $5, 3.4, $3.9 in cake, 1.5 cake tokens. Put together, the yield from cake was something at around 20% of my deposit in a week. If it keeps like this, which I don't think it will, I think it's going to tone down. Just in a matter of incentives, in a month, I would get 80% of my initial back just in the shape of pure rewards, plus the yield, but the yield I've been compounding back into the pools. Now there are still very high incentives, although not as high as before. In the first couple of days, I was yielding something around 10% overall with rewards and fees, everything put together, but so far it did tone down and I'm earning at around 5-7%. In the weekends it's going to be lower for sure, because if you look here at the TVL overall on PancakeSwap, we're having let's call it $60 million TVL on Solana, and this is made from all of the pools that you can see here on the list, and the volume is a bit over $10 million. So very low volume to TVL ratio. It doesn't mean that you will not be able to find some high performing pools. You will definitely be able to do that. For example, Solana with USDC, 624,000 in total value locked, over 8 million in volume. So this performs very similar to the same pair in other DEXs. But that's the catch about PancakeSwap. You'll find some other pools with very low TVLs that in trading fees they will not yield nearly as much as compared with some of Solana's established DEXs like Orca, for example. So for example here, Solana paired with Bonk, $358,000 TVL, much lower volume here. Although we're on a weekend and during the week this is likely to go up, and maybe we'll see a volume higher than TVL, maybe in a 1-to-1 ratio. But so that you get an idea, here on PancakeSwap we're talking about 59 million TVL and 10 million volume during the weekend. But if we go on Orca, so let me go back here into pools. So overall we're having 520 million TVL and the volume is nearly half of that. So again, it's the weekend, the volume is much lower, but the volume to TVL ratio here is still much better than what we just saw on PancakeSwap. The thing is that on PancakeSwap there are those high incentives in some pools, and actually even if the pool is not yielding all that much when it comes to trading fees, we can still find very promising ones that will make up for it just for providing liquidity and earning the rewards in the shape of the cake token. Also do have in mind that cake right now is worth $2.5, I think. So right now let's go here and see one cake token, how much is it worth? $255. So your yield in all of those pools will pretty much be heavily influenced by cake price. So that's also something that you should account for. But in any case, there are still very interesting pools here, so let me go ahead and try to find something. So something like this, Solana Wrap Bitcoin, $1,000 TVL. I'm not sure if this APR is right, I don't think it is, because I just opened a position to test things out, a very small position. So let me go back here to show you. So you see, I opened this one and the APR is 263, not close to what they showed us by any stretch, and I'm still using a very tight range with this one, okay? So it's not the case that I am using an extra wide range and so the APR diluted all that much. It's actually something that it's not showing properly, I believe. In any case, this pool, just as an example, it will have for this upcoming week 140 cake tokens as rewards, which is worth $362. So that's more than a third of the TVL just in incentives. So let's imagine this $1,000 just belong to one user. One person came here, provided liquidity to this token pair with $1,000. That person after a week will earn something like 36% back just in cake rewards. So this is the power of incentives. So you can always try to find a pool with lower competition, with lower TVL, which is the case of this one, and potentially you'll earn a really nice yield just in the shape of cake. So for example, I didn't mention, but initially I started with just this position, Solana and Fartcoin. Then I went up and opened this Solana and Pengu. So overall, the results I just showed you here on Jupe, all this cake that I have in my wallet should be much higher had I opened both positions at the same time. Probably I would be touching upon 25k at least. But this is a very easy way you can come and find some interesting APR in some of these pools. Find a pool with repeatable tokens with lower TVL, because overall the TVL will be your competition. For example, this one, $580 TVL, it will get in incentives $180. So with this one, you would also essentially get in a week a third of the TVL back just from the rewards, not even accounting for the trading fees. The higher the TVL, the deeper the liquidity, the bigger trades and the most amount of trades a pool can handle. But you can also look at it with the other perspective, which is you have lower competition for these weekly rewards that will go out to pay LPs, as long as you stay in range. So pay attention to that. Of course, how wide or how narrow your range is, it will also have an impact on your incentives in the cake rewards, okay? So potentially what I'm about to do with this, I'm going to diversify and buy a position, buy a share of a useless pool, because I see that potential there. So useless and Sol, 0.18 pool fee tier, $3,500 TVL, not that much competition, and 634 weekly rewards. So just in incentives, this one would yield at around something like 20% of whatever deposit you put into the pool, as long as the TVL keeps like this, because if the TVL skyrockets, if it doubles, then the rewards will also be diluted and the APR will dilute because there's more competition. So this is something you can do. Account for the weekly rewards, because those are a sure thing. Trade fees, no, they depend on the market, on how heavy the volume is going through a pool. But regardless of there's trading fees or not, you will always earn your rewards, okay? And although it says weekly, in case you're a beginner, you can claim them daily. This is just what's going to be distributed to liquidity providers on the pool during the whole next week. So one easy thing you can do to search for the highest yield is look for the TVL, look for the weekly rewards, see how much the rewards represent compared to the TVL. Are they 20%? Are they 10%? Are they 25, 30%? And the higher that ratio is, the higher the yield you will get just by staying in range, okay? And by the way, even if you do prefer yield farming on, for example, Orca or Radium, maybe Meteora, definitely in the weekends where the volume does tone down, probably it will be much worth it for you to take the liquidity out of those positions during the weekends and going here to PancakeSwap, because here you can get these cake incentives. So this is what I wanted to share with you on this video. Yes, overall PancakeSwap doesn't seem to have the best volume to TVL ratio, but you can definitely still find very high yielding pools when it comes to volume, like these major LPs like Solana with USDC, Solana CBBTC. You do see high performance still here on PancakeSwap. The volume to TVL ratio, even during a weekend, is perfect. More volume than the TVL, plus cake incentives. So if you are a beginner trying to look for yield farming opportunities, go on PancakeSwap, test it out with some of these highly incentive pools, the ones which have blue chip assets. Go test it out for yourself. Although this is not financial advice, what I would tell you as a complete beginner would be look out for blue chip asset pools. Deposit something that you won't lose sleep, even in the case of market crashes. If it goes out of range, potentially it will bounce back up, because we are in a bull market, even if you go with more degen type of things. But as a complete beginner, I don't advise you to do that unless you like the risk and you want to go with something like that. Then definitely go for established meme coins. There's plenty of those right here as well. Solana with Bonk, underperforming volume to TVL right now, but although this is not the best performing one, probably something like Pengu, Fartcoin, Dogwif also looking good here. Where is Popcat? So here it is, Popcat. So these are more established meme coins, not something like useless or some other thing that might be much more recent. There's even stable coins here. I mentioned this on another video. This is more for people which don't want to expose themselves to market volatility, and there's more, not just that one. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Plenty of opportunities here on PancakeSwap right now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this type of content, like and subscribe for more. Keep exploring crypto. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.